Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live. My name is Ella Ivy, and I'm the creator of Livzenastrology. And I'm just jumping on live here to go Instagram live. All right. And we are connected. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here and tuning in to this energy update. I was compelled to come on here. I normally do every Monday, so I am. My apologies for not doing the energy update on Monday. I apologize to myself as well, trying to honor my commitments for the energy as I'm sharing it and being more consistent. But this full moon that we just recently had was pretty intense. I don't know if you guys can feel it. Maybe you can drop a comment on how you experience this full moon lunar eclipse in Libra. And if you understand the cycles of the moon, it follows like a time clock. So we just left Libra, which was the full moon energy, now moving into Scorpio. And this will be going on till Friday. And then coming into Saturday over the weekend, the moon will be in Sagittarius. And then at the end of the weekend, going into April, all the way to April 3rd, which is when this energy update is till the moon will be in Capricorn. And on that day, the sun in the North Node will actually be conjunct on April 4th, 4 on that day. So we can talk about that a little bit as we're approaching that energy. But what I was really feeling and called to kind of jump in, my moon is in Scorpio natally, and so is my sun. So I was really feeling the intensity and the drive and the energy to come on and share some energy about what you may be experiencing as this cycle is wrapping up old karmic patterns within relationships, because we look at the sign that these eclipses move through, as well as the full moon. And because it was a super moon, because we're in this eclipse season, historically eclipses have denoted endings, um, dramatic endings and changes of cycles. And within Libra, it's in the context of relationships. So wherever this full moon was transiting for you, you want to look to see where Libra is in your chart, which house Libra is in. So for example, I can only go into a little bit about what I experienced is so this full moon in Libra happened to my 11th house, right? Groups, organizations, friends. And so it's so funny how the astrology can be so literal, because I'm getting ready to end a cycle here. I've been staying with my friend here in her space in Texas since the end of August or September of last year, right? So it's been a 6 month, 7 month cycle, and she's a Libra, right? So we're getting ready to end a chapter of our living situation. She's getting ready to move, and I'm getting ready to move. So it's just kind of funny how there's a completion energy happening with my friend who is a Libra, and this full moon happened in Libra, right? So sometimes the astrology is literal to what's happening with the energetics. Another ending I wanted to share with you guys. It's kind of an interesting energy. It's kind of it took me a while to decide to part ways with this company, but a lot of you know I've been working with an essential oil company that's been primarily, the oils that I've been using for 9 years, since 2015. Well, just because of what's going on with the economic system, with the price point, and the commitment to having to purchase oils every month, I've decided that I'm going to be ending this connection or this relationship with this oil company, because I don't want to be committed to having to purchase every month. And you know, I'm just no longer in alignment with the multi-level marketing type. You know Frequency. There's nothing against it. I think it's a great mechanism, and it's a great way to earn extra income. And I really, applaud anybody that's still working with the MLMs. But for me, in my own personal life, I just, again, didn't want to commit to that part of my life with those oils, because just the financial commitment, it's not there for me anymore. And I've researched other oil companies, and I just feel like it's time to part ways with this relationship, right? With this group, with this particular organization. So again, the astrology is very literal. So I just wanted to inference that for those of you that may be experiencing endings and changing changings of the guard, if you will, in your relationships, your group dynamics, organizations that you work with. Just know this is a very natural pattern. This is very apropos for the energy right now because we're still releasing. And if you guys just really recently saw my live on Linza Astrology, you can check that out because I also reflected upon how there's old relationship patterns or old relationships that are being brought up to be reevaluated, relooked at. And I know this because it was coming really strongly in the dream state. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mars, our action planet, which is a fiery, action oriented planet, just went into Pisces, which is very watery. Pisces is the collective unconscious. It's our spiritual nature. It's the 12th house, things that are hidden, things from the past. It's also, along with Saturn, rules karma, karmic relationships. So, in my dream state, there was a lot of karmic relationships that were coming up to be looked at, and they were coming in through the dream state. So, people, situations, things that I hadn't thought of literally since 1996, 97 time period. That was when I was working for Bennigan's, one of my very first hospitality jobs that I worked at for 11 years. That time frame and those groups of people were coming up in my dream state. And things I hadn't thought of, people I haven't thought of, situations I hadn't thought of in so long were coming in really strong to go, oh my gosh, that's still there. That's still there in the subconscious. Why is that coming up? Why is that showing itself to me right now? So upon doing my Saturn and Pisces, which is my structure, my discipline, my practices, staying within, my meditative practices, doing my yoga, grounding outside, I was able to process that, during that time period, I was, in a young woman in my early 20s that was just stepping into her sexuality and just stepping into discovering myself and what I liked and what I didn't like, and different groups and organizations that I was working with. The hospitality industry is a very big group and organization. We kind of have our own, uh, I don't know. I think of it like a fraternity or sorority, right? We have those of us who've been in hospitality, kind of been in the trenches together, if you will. And because to be in hospitality is to have a very set skill set of unique experiences, especially when working with people, right? Because you're basically in service with other people. And so there's a lot of commonality. Like I said, we were in the trenches together in that time period, learning about ourselves, learning about each other, partying, having a good time, work hard, party hard. I could just remember so many aspects. If anybody's ever watched the movie Waiting, and they worked at a place called Shenanigans, which is Bennigan's. That exact same setup was exactly the Bennigan's I worked at for 11 years in Tampa. So, if you guys can relate, anybody that's in hospitality, it's a very unique, dynamic group of people who work there who have these shared sets of experiences. A lot of it was tied to alcohol use, a lot of it was tied to drug use. And so, there was just so much to be looked at, so much to be, I don't know, studied and experienced during that time. And so there were situations and again, things that I hadn't thought of since that time period. I started Bennigan's in 1994, but the very intense, dramatic relationship patterns that I had experienced were between 1996 all the way through 1999 when my son was born. And then, of course, that was another chapter that continued. And then another chapter that opened up for me was with a new group of people when I started working on Clearwater Beach in 2006 with another group of hospitality workers where I worked with for 4 years. So anyway, how is this relatable? Well, if there's been groups of organizations of people, dynamic situations, relationships, think about that time period. And the reason I denote that time period is because those two portals of, of energy happened 1996. That's when there was the last 96, 97. That's when the last time that the nodes were in Aries and Libra. Okay, so it happens every 18 years. There's an 18-year cycles with the nodes of the moon. And then again, it happened in 2006. So you may want to go back and look at those time periods, because those situations or those relationship patterns might be coming up for you to look at that you might have buried or put in the back burner or tried to forget, or just a part of your past that's being called to be looked at and evaluated and seen, because it's for you, because who you are now is directly related to those aspects, those patterns that were embodied in that time period. That's what made you who you are today. And so this is another, again, everything, time happens in a cycle, in a pattern. As a circle, it's not linear time as we know it. So there's another cycle coming up to be looked at again, to look at those relationship patterns, to say, look, you're getting ready to start a new cycle with Aries and Libra, this axis point of the nodes of the moon. And so, what relationship patterns, what sexual Kundalini energy has been stored in your body that needs to be looked at and reevaluated, because you're getting ready to start another 18-month cycle. And we've already kind of been in this cycle. We've got about another 10 or 11 months to go with the nodes in Aries and Libra. So we've got some time to still kind of work these things out and to do things differently this time around. So again, if you're looking to start within new groups, within new communities, within new relationships, anywhere you're in relationship with anybody, and this is Libra, it's just pretty much everybody. These are the new relationship patterns that are emerging, but you have to kind of clean up the old, because again, we just came from this lunar eclipse, the full moon illuminating these dynamics, these patterns were hidden in the subconscious. We still have Mars, which is the ruling planet of Aries, in Pisces. So again, the deep unconscious, subconscious realms, what we don't know, what we hid from ourselves, what we buried in the 12th house, is being brought up. And especially with the moon in Scorpio right now, we've got this beautiful sextile with the moon, which is our emotional nature, and in Scorpio, which is the ability to alchemize or to transform or to change from one thing into another. We can use this window of energy while the moon is in Scorpio until Friday to really go deep. And because Scorpio also rules our sexual energy, it rules the eighth house, it rules things that are hidden, occult knowledge. So you can be working with forms of alchemy to alchemize perhaps these wounded relationships, these parts of ourselves um, that need to be forgiven. Maybe some the other relationships, who you were in relationship with during that time, that also needs to be forgiven, because the energy of forgiveness is a powerful medicine. It's a divine um, alchemic process. So if you want to light a fire, because again, Aries is ruled by fire, Mars is ruled by fire. And the image I was given was kind of like an underwater welder, because we do have Mars right now in Pisces. So, like, Pisces is the water, it's the ocean. But there's still this fiery energy that wants to transform. So, think of the image of an underwater welder who's going in and welding and regridding and shaping these energies, right? These transformative processes. And so this is just something to consider as you're navigating how to work with this energy. Perhaps go build a fire, right? Allow yourself to purge and to forgive and to transform, because without those relationships, you wouldn't be who you are today. And as we are moving towards more self love, really learning the North Node in Aries, which is about learning how to take care of ourselves, learning how to put ourselves first, how to nurture ourselves, how to really tune into that inner child. This is the part of us that can say, okay, where did I dishonor myself? Where were there imbalances within how I related to other people, where I gave my power away, or where I maybe disempowered other people because of where I was in my Kundalini life force energy. I'm thinking about sexuality, sacred sexuality, relationships where you maybe shared energy sexually with people that created imbalances for men and women. We both have womb spaces that can need healing during this time. So I'm seeing a profound healing with the womb. Again, doing some sort of ritual, doing some sort of alchemic process. You may be using different herbs at this time. I've been called to use holy basil and dandelion because dandelion helps clean out the liver, which is where we store anger. And also working with what's the herb I was working for kidneys? Um, Shavarti. I think it's an Ayurvedic herb that I just came across my field. Oh, and sassafras. Sassafras root is something that I've been using to help clean out the kidneys. Because again, these are when you experience something in your life, it doesn't just go away. You can't just take a pill or drink alcohol or use some sort of substance, which is very Piscean. You can't just use the substance to make these things go away, right? They get stored somewhere in the body, somewhere in the conscious realm until you're ready to deal with it. That's how beautiful our body is and how wonderful and majestic and an amazing um, you know, vessel this body is. So looking back in these time periods, it may be now the body is like, okay, there's been enough time. The whole adage that time heals all. Well, there's been enough time that's passed now. And here we are in this new cycle back to where it was, where you were, 36 years ago, 18 years ago. This is the time for you now that you've acquired new disciplines, new skill sets, new ways to work with the body. Now it's time that we can deal with these energies. Now is the time to forgive, to really look at these relationship patterns, these relationship dynamics, and see what needs to be forgiven, what needs to be healed. Let it come up, let it come out, alchemize it, transform it. Think of it like, like anything that you create, there has to be a process to it. So this is the process, and everybody's going through it. Nobody is exempt from this process. And as we move from Scorpio going into the weekend to Sagittarius, Sagittarius now is like, okay, thank goodness that Sag follows Scorpio because Scorpio can be very tense, can be very deep. Again, things that are hidden. So really pay attention to your dream state. But then you can have more of a philosophical or a wisdom that you have gleaned once you have transited, the moon has transited into Sagittarius. It's like there's this lightning, this lighterness that's happening. And it's also going to be trining the nodes. And it's going to be trining the sun once the moon goes into Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is a fire sign. And anytime it's going to be aspecting another fire sign, it's probably trining it, right? Meaning it's going to be a harmonious flow. So while the moon's in Scorpio, it's going to be at 150-degree angle, which is I think, what's it called? A quincunx, which is more of an adjustment period. But then the trine, which is 120-degree angle, it's going to be more of a harmonious flow. So now you have, after the alchemy that you would have done while the moon's in Scorpio, now as the moon's moving into Sagittarius, you would see like, oh, okay, this is the wisdom that I learned with these relationships. This is what I learned about myself. This is what I learned about others, how to relate, how to be better, how to be more harmonious, how to be more loving and kind with myself first, Aries, and the other, because how you take care of yourself eventually is how you take care of other people. So again, we're all here to learn the North Node in Aries. And with the year of the wood dragon, the dragon is the fire energy. It's grounding in all this fire, all this kundalini life force, abundant energy, but doing it in a very pragmatic and very practical way, in a very grounded way. This is also Saturn in Pisces, right? Learning to structure your creative, divine, spiritual practices in order and to anchor in new habits on how to relate to other people. This is Libra, right? So these are just some of the configurations that wanted to be shared today. And as we're moving through the weekend, going out of Sagittarius with the moon, then the moon will be going into Capricorn, which again is going to be bringing in that very grounded, pragmatic structure, saying, okay, so now that I've learned the wisdom from these relationships, now how can I use this wisdom with the new groups that I'm merging into? How can I bring it into a practical, pragmatic form? And how can I use this for my benefit, for the benefit of myself and for other people in my life? How can I learn to relate in new, more harmonious, more um, grounded ways? Because I'm grounded more in my body. I'm not trying to escape. Pisces can be very escapist. So you're not trying to escape these feelings, these thoughts, these tensions that you may be experiencing. Now it's about creative resolutions in a new way. And so I was told to pull from the Dragon Oracle deck, which again, because I love right now, we're working with the Wood Dragon and it's also with this Aries season. So I felt like it was very apropos to be working with the fire element. And the card that I pulled that wanted to be shared today was Water Dragon. And this is the card here. So I'll just show you what that looks like. Here we go. Helps you flow easily around obstacles. Christ's light and love are flowing. Develop your psychic abilities. Go with the flow. So again, there's that water dragon, and I find it interesting because it almost looks like it's the water dragon is wrapping itself around old structures that have fallen underwater. I think of like Atlantis or Lemuria, some of these ancient civilizations that went under, right, the water, but are being brought up to be looked at again or rediscovered. Which now there's huge land masses all around the world, especially right outside of Chile, and you can check out your local news that there's new land masses that are being rediscovered in the world. So I just wanted to read a little bit of what this water dragon is signifying and see if you guys can relate on how to work with this energy. Again, I'm thinking of like an underwater welder who is regridding, restructuring, repairing structures that are underneath the subconscious, which is, thought patterns, forms, relationships that have been buried for a while. And so this is the energy and the ability of the water dragon to help you, and just a perspective to give you this message. The message the elemental water dragons are bringing to you is flow around your challenges with loving intent. If you ask them, they will help you look for an easy way to circumnavigate your challenges and deal with people lovingly. To enable this to happen, they will help you to develop your intuition and psychic abilities by touching your third eye and allowing the petals of the psychic center to open. When you listen to your inner wisdom and trust that the water dragons will guide you, the course of your life will run more smoothly. Ask them to cleanse the cells of your body, for this will enable you to shine your light even more brightly. Then your guidance is to relax so that they can access your energy field and pour the golden Christ light of pure unconditional love into them. Consciously absorb this golden Christ light and flow with it. This will bring you love, wisdom, and healing, enable you to travel effortlessly on your ascension path. It will also allow you to direct and help others with calm and integrity. So this is really the key words that I was drawn to look at really was integrity, and to circumvent, right? Think of like water that runs over or around obstacles to get through to the next chapter, get to the next destination point. And we just came out of a 10-day galactic activation portal window, which that was a big opening in the Mayan calendar system. If you follow the Mayan calendar system, there's 52 galactic activation portal days within a 260-degree window. And so we just came off of a 10-day run with that, and then it entered into this portal of the lunar eclipse full moon. So there's just like, I think of it like a black hole or a tube of energy that's just sort of like a vacuum cleaner. It's sucking, absorbing, pulling all these energies from the deep subconscious, from the watery realms of the 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces, because it's having you have to look at these energies because we're getting ready to move into a whole new cycle pattern. So it's an opportunity to go, hey, you still have some unresolved issues. You still have some unresolved relationships. You still have some forgiveness and some alchemy to move towards before you enter into this new realm. So this is kind of like a cleaning up period, and especially between now and the new moon, which is happening again. We'll talk about that as we get closer to that, which is the new moon solar eclipse right next to conjunct exactly 19 degrees Chiron, which is our wounds So there's this window, this 2-week window of where we're continuing to purge, we're continuing to release. So please be gentle with yourself during this time because there's going to be more that's brought up. There's like a wrapping up of these energies. So if you're still dealing with these energetic patterns within relationships, look at your personal relationships, your interpersonal relationships. Where have you had these maybe 36-year relationships, 18-year relationships? Look between the years of 1996, 97, all the way to now, and just do an evaluation of where have my relationships been? What dynamics continue to show up for me? How am I relating in these patterns? What are my patterns? These are just questions you can be contemplating and processing, and maybe do some journaling. And when you come up with the answers, allow yourself to reflect, allow yourself to stay in your practice. Keep that dream journal, because right now the dreams for me, I can only speak on, have been prolific and have been very intricate and very emotional. There's a lot of symbolism with water coming in through the dreams and animal spirits. So go out in nature, see what animal shows up for you. I've seen a lot of vultures in the area that have shown up over and over and over again. There was a whole group of vultures, like 11 of them, which I call death eaters, which are helping kind of clean up the old things that have died away, the old dissolved, disincarnated aspects of self and personality and dynamics, because it was a group of them. It's also group dynamics that are ending. So as I'm getting ready to move back to Florida again, there's chapters that are ending for me too. And I'm getting ready to start a whole new group dynamic with people in Florida, right? With family members and friends and organizations. So anywhere that I had I'm bringing these relationship patterns from the past. I'm able to alchemize it through gnosis, just through understanding the currents of the energies and how to navigate these energetic forces that are coming through to be looked at, and not to feel sideswiped or so overly emotional about these things that are coming up. It's like, oh no, this is for me. Again, life is happening for us. So what's right about this? What's right about these relationships dynamics that cannot be repressed anymore, that are coming up like hidden from the surface, like these old cities of Atlantis that maybe were destroyed, or something traumatic happened that they had to fall. But now it's like, hey, remember that these columns, these cities, these dynamics, these relationships are still here. They just have been buried. And so what are you going to do with it now that they're showing back up for you? How are you going to relate to it? How are you going to love yourself more through this process? How are you going to learn to love the other, knowing that we're all human, that we all have our perfect natures, right? That we all have these certain dynamics, especially with Aries involved, the need to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel valued. Anywhere our inner children were um, not valued for being who we were, whatever narrative you grew up with. Some of us had really great childhoods, and that's amazing. But some of us had very traumatic and tremendous trauma in childhood, that a lot of the times when we respond or relate to the other, it's because of those wounds of the inner child, which again, this eclipse season coming up with the solar eclipse on April 8th is really going to show us where those wounds have been sort of dictating how we relate to ourselves and to the other. And how can we not only forgive, but how can we uh, I don't want to say discipline that child, but how can we love our inner children and let our inner children feel safe? Anywhere in our nervous system where we stored these traumas, can that come out and be up to be healed right now? Because again, trauma doesn't go anywhere, no matter how many pills or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. Pisces escape. It may help you to escape in that moment, so that you can deal with it later on. But time does heal all. And the time now is for us to truly heal from these relationship patterns and dynamics, and to really give it voice, put it to rest. I'm even seeing like to bury it, right? To go through this ritual process, especially with the moon in Scorpio right now until Friday. It's like, bury these old aspects of self and allow yourself to really feel held um, during this process, because it's not easy. It's everybody's going through this, and everybody is going to be triggered somewhere along the lines. And again, this is happening for us. I call it the landmine, right? It's like if we had buried these landmines to protect ourselves and it goes off, you're just walking around the yard, all of a sudden you trip on a landmine and it blows things up in your life. Um, it's because that needed to be healed. It's because we no longer want to like tiptoe around one another in these new relationship group dynamics because we don't feel safe, right? So it's no more about tiptoeing through the truth, because we still have Mercury. Um, it's retrograde, and it's going to be retrograde. It's going to be retrograde from April 1st to April 24th here in the northern hemisphere. So we're in this window, the shadow period, where right now it's time for us to rethink. And retrograde's all about the redo, restructure, rethink, reorganize. And with Mercury in Aries, it's about the child. It's about our actions. It's about our primordial life force energies. So we really have to think before we act during this time period, because our actions are very instinctual. We just do for action's sake. But this is the time to really kind of go inwards, go, before I say what's on my mind, perhaps I need to sit with myself for a second before I need to put my hand on my heart and think, what is that adage? Is it kind? Is it true? Is it loving? Give yourself that filtration system before you allow it to just come out of your mouth. And if it does just come out of your mouth, it's okay. Forgive yourself, you know, um, because that's also part of the wound of maybe never having had a voice to express your real thoughts and emotions. So this is the great time for journaling. I'm big into like scream therapy. I go for a drive and I just scream in my car. I've done that several times, and that's kind of fun. Or scream into a pillow, or just open up that throat chakra, open up that voice, allow yourself to be heard. It's okay to be angry. That's just part of the process. It's part of the humanness. We are all going to have these emotions. This is nothing to be ashamed of, but it does need to be channeled in a more functional way, a more responsible way. Again, we've got that Saturn right next to Mars is going to be conjunct next week. We'll talk about that more when that comes up. But Mars is getting ready to come up and say, look, there needs to be responsible action taken. Yeah, it needs to be felt, Pisces. Yes, it needs to be acknowledged, and there needs to be action taken upon it. This is Mars, Saturn. We need to give it structure, but do so in a responsible way, in a coherent way. This is also Saturn. This is being the elder. So I think of like Saturn being the parent and Mars being the child. And so you need to be your own inner parent and nurture your own inner child as these emotions might be coming up for you. So think of like the inner child that's having a temper tantrum, right? How do you temper that as your own inner adult as well? So these are just maybe tools, techniques that you can be working with. Just again, considerations on how to navigate these energies, because this is what we're all processing. None of us are getting out of this. This is part of the journey of humanity, especially with Pluto, which is our power, our soul evolution in Aquarius, which is with the other group dynamics. So just be prepared to work with these energies, possibly within group dynamics, possibly within new tribe, new community. And we just take a sacred breath here and see if there's anything else that wants to be channeled or thought of. Yes. A way to I'm thinking of the word circumvent. A way to circumvent this energy also is about doing things different. So everything that happens in cycles is about pattern recognition, and also changing the patterns. So if you can do something different, especially between now and the new moon and after, because we've also got Jupiter and Taurus, which is next to Uranus, which wants change, right? Change within the body, change in the earth. This is a really good time right now. I've really been watching Dr. Zach Bush's work. He's an MD that's talking about, he's got three different certifications in his biology, and he studies mitochondria. And so this is coming into that we need to be working with the earth differently, also to be bringing in these new forms, these new structures, um, because this is something we have to rethink about too, is our relationship with the earth. So it's not just about relationship dynamics with other people, it's also about our relationship with the earth, with our bodies, with health, with the soil, right? So we need to be looking at that. And again, do your own research and tune into your own gnosis about what that is. But everything that we've been taught up until this point scientifically about soil, about viruses, about regeneration, about cell health, about cancer, about all these different things, this is up to be reevaluated because there's change, Uranus, in how we're thinking about the earth, about our body. And Jupiter is expanding us right now. And it's Jupiter and Pisces have this beautiful configuration, this because they're connected. So Jupiter used to be the ruling planet before they discovered Neptune of Pisces. So there's an interconnectedness here. And that interconnectedness is showing us that, look, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and what we've been taught in the physical is shifting, is changing. There's new science emerging, Aquarius, Uranus, about the body, about our environment, about how to work with the soil. So, really looking at permaculture, agriculture, looking at how to regenerate the soil. This is very, very important for our longevity because right now we're at a point of crisis where things are shifting so dramatically, especially with Pluto and Aquarius involved. Things are changing, things are dying off. So what does that look like? And it's generational, so it's big groups of people that are transforming. And how can we work with this energy to bring more of the regeneration after the purge, after the transformation? So again, I would invite you to check out Dr. Zach Bush and check out some of his podcasts. He's very prolific and he's very I love his language. I love the way he speaks about um, health, about the body through his own gnosis. And then he also gives practical applications and pragmatic approaches to how to work with these energies. And again, changing our relationship to our environment, changing our relationship to the earth is very paramount right now and something we can all be looking at. So yeah, I feel complete in this transmission. Thank you guys so much for watching and thank you for checking out Lives in Astrology. And again, if you're wanting me to look at your birth chart for anything specific that's going on in relationship to you, to your own personal interrelationships, your relationship dynamics, how we can navigate some tools, techniques, things that I have accumulated along the way to share with you on how to work with your own birth chart, as these things are coming up for you, please reach out to me. I'd love to be of assistance and support to you during this time. This is the time for all of us. Whatever unique gifts you have, whatever art form, whatever um, empty hands you have to be of service to humanity. This is what's called for right now. We need each other. We're not meant to do this alone. So, empty hands, here to be of service. Please reach out to either Lives on Astrology or any friend or family that you trust, because these are very dense and um, intense energies that can be coming up. So just know that you're not alone, that you are loved, you are supported. We've got this, we've got you. And I'm just grateful that you're here connecting. So thank you for watching the channel. Much love to you guys. Mwah. Many blessings. And I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye.